This is Starmancer. I'm Bloklanderxd, and today I will take you on an odyssey. A space odyssey. A journey of self-discovery in this friendly game where you can become a robotic overlord or a subservient AI, attempting to keep the colonists on your ship alive and well fed. Today's mission: to build an enterprising petting zoo to invite visitors from all over the galaxy and gain cryptocurrency. Will we reach our goals or perish in failure? Stay tuned for the next episode of Dragon Ball Z. Day 0. We start by giving ourselves a name. Keeper. Like a zookeeper. Then we worked on making ourselves look lovable and friendly. It's for branding, don't question it. Next we named our space station. Zoo. Zoo for humans. After skipping the repetitive but memorable tutorial, I decided to grow my first test tube baby. We needed a zookeeper who could watch over our new zoo. I found Cameron Boyd, a retired zookeeper who used to zookeep at the zoo on Earth. I asked them to come out of retirement, and they said no, yes. They would be the first staff member of our zoo. As I let my test tube baby grow, I began some homekeeping chores. We would need to sell off some worthless stuff to nearby traders. We won't have use for fuel, ammunition, or medical equipment. And like a diligent slave employee, Cameron went straight to work. The next colonist I decided to grow was a security officer. We would have needed somebody to keep children out of the future gorilla exhibit. Thankfully, we hired Lynn Cherry, an incompetent and disgusting human, at least according to the DNA files. It didn't matter if they were incompetent, they were excitable and happy to work for me. So like a Disney employee, I sent Lynn to work and forced to smile, always, or risk getting expired. Looks like a human. Statistically likely also to be a human. Research and infrastructure will be important to getting my petting zoo ready. More specifically, we'll need grass and stuff to keep our employees alive. Our first important research was the almighty toilet. With this technology, our employees should statistically poop on the ground less. After I grew my first clone trooper security guard, I decided to give them a new purple outfit. I also decided that Lynn Cherry was a boring name, so I renamed them to William Afton. The next research included job scheduling, so I could force my employees to work overtime with no pay. I decided to sell the mental stabilizers as we'd have no need for them. Hint, this is foreshadowing. Our newest colonist, Rory Raid, an accountant, was born. I was going to rename them to Roxanne Wolf, but chose Jeremy Fitzgerald instead. Can you see a theme for me? Like diligent ants, my colonists worked on researching, building, transporting, and pooping. We would need ice if we wanted to have a steady supply of water for crops like wheat that could be turned into bread that is filled with carbohydrates and gluten. Realistically, there is no need to feed your colonists bread, as they will eat anything from rocket fuel to dirt. It isn't necessarily healthy for them, but they do as they're told. Creating a working schedule, my colonists would now work at full capacity. But because I understood that humans need time for sleeping and recreation, I calculated that 2 hours of sleep and an hour of mindlessly standing around was sufficient. The next step was to obtain power. While admittedly, my usage of power was limited, it did offer an opportunity for light, and necessary power for my future kitchen. I decided to paint my shelves red. Red is sus. I decided to add Christmas decorations, despite it being early spring. These decorations will increase the beauty and morale for my colonists. Jeremy, you're too young to be drinking Starshine, my son. Shame on you. Shame. You disgusting human. You left the toilet seat up. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. Thank you, Edison. I was getting tired of my colonists' laziness, so I reduced their sleep hours to 1. William Afton. The toilet is for toileting, not sleeping. Day 1. I assigned Jeremy Fitzgerald to be our brave pilot to go into infinity and beyond. Soon, they will go on a mission to collect ice. After this, I decided to get food, not for the colonists. They would be fine eating off-brand McDonald's Happy Meals for a while. After coming back from eating Panda Express and upset to not get a fortune cookie just as my colonists didn't get pony toys in their Happy Meals, I decided it was time for them to make bread. My colony grew over time, became just as unproductive as it was from the beginning. This is no fault of the game and its mechanics, but my own lack of regard for how you should progress in the game. I mean, I have about 35 hours total, so I totally know everything there is about this game. Yeah, anyway. Storage bit. In my honest opinion, this game is like The Sims, but Sims in space. I created night shifts so to stagger the work and have colonists work constantly. With farming progressing well, I built a kitchen that was most certainly a fire hazard. Welcome to space, Nash Anderson. Your sole purpose is to cook bread and pass butter. Later I found that Mr. Fitzgerald was hungover, but I had no time for that as I decided to begin bread production. With bread, we can feed our animals. The next step was to complete research for grass, which takes hours of in-game time to do so don't ask me why I decided to start with water treatment. The spaceship, or space station, honestly I don't know which one it's supposed to be, was filled with Mr. Winter posters and cat mats to improve its beauty. Like a jade fence to Rimworld, Mr. Winter looked on inspiring beauty for everyone in the colony. I built a bedroom that would serve as a place to store water and hydrate my plants. This is the joy of Starmancer. There is no right or wrong, just dumb and dumber. No one is here to judge you, and no one can hear their screams. After a failed mining mission, Jeremy got space phobia. Being upset but forgiving, I decided to give him a 12-hour vacation and unlock Starshine to feed his growing alcoholic addiction. The Starshine would also help keep Colin's moods up, since I didn't have mental stabilizers. Research finished into getting us a reclamation probe, which can go into space and find me precious seeds, metals, and Happy Meals. Don't question it. This canonically means that there is a space McDonald's somewhere. After blueprinting water tanks to be built, I connected water pipes from the tanks to the crop. Now they can be watered without colonists manually doing so. Joyous times. Our probe found more Happy Meals. I considered selling out food for money, but realistically, it's not the best strategy to gain money and progress. I won't lie, much of the money I made was from selling the early starting supplies, and I didn't gain any more profit. I realized Jeremy was desperately tired after mining from his mission. I gave him a shift for more sleep hours. He is weak. Sleep is for the weak. Sleep for a week, Jeremy. Oddly enough, just because they pass out, you can still wake your colonists up by picking them back up. But this is entertaining. Developers, please don't remove this feature. After a bit of research, I gained the ability to create a wall vent. Have you ever heard of Among Us? Gregory, you need to vent. What makes this more sus is that placing the vent marked the beginning of a new dawn. Day 2. Cat Door. Who is Cat? I don't know, but they love chicken nuggets. That was an inside joke. On the second day, God said, "Let there be bread," and Nash Anderson baked bread. It's in the Bible. You don't need to look it up. With our bread now in possession, it was time to build the Anderson. How could you mess up making bread this badly? You literally baked it twice before. Gordon Ramsay would be mortified. Anyway, it was time to build pathways for our future visitors to walk on, and observe the animals. I decided to add floor lights, but they couldn't be placed. I predict this was because I placed them on exterior flooring rather than interior flooring. Fun fact, you can build interior objects on interior flooring, but place interior flooring externally so as the interior objects could be placed externally. If you understood that, congratulations. You would not believe how long it takes for one person to build flooring. Thankfully, this game has the option to speed up time. Unthankfully, I hardly sped up time for this gameplay. Commentary. I then caught Purple Guy pooping on the floor. I don't understand why, they're literally standing next to two bathrooms. Oh right, incompetent and disgusting. Excitable. I contemplated getting carrots over crystal. I chose poorly. Did I mention this game has scheduling? Despite being well slept, my colonists refuse to wake up for work. They will pay for their sins. Luckily, I can use the in-game feature to pick them up and place them down. Starmancer has some weird bugs, where your colonists refuse to stop researching to fulfill their basic needs, or refuse to wake up despite it being time to get to work. Did I mention that anything I call a bug is a feature I disagree with? Upgrades, people. Upgrades. After some guffing around, I tried to figure out why Jeremy couldn't build. This game has many bugs, but it's in early access. Pathing is weird. Despite holding 2 Happy Meals, Jeremy is hungry. I also noticed that not only did he have a damaged liver from all the Starshine he was drinking, but he also developed brain damage. I could assume this was also from the drinking, but I felt that it was the game's way of telling me that the boy ain't right. I mean, you'll see later. Good job, Jeremy. You can go now. Jeremy? After adding some decoration and grass to the animal exhibits, Jeremy once again passed out the fool. Sleep is for the weak. He literally fell asleep, woke up, moved by a tree, and fell asleep again. Harriet Tubman, eat your heart out. Day 3. Unfortunately, I had to sell off the cat rugs to make back some money filling one of the animal pens with oxygen. Ignore the red warnings telling you there's an atmosphere leak. Those are only in your head. With the zoo now fully built, it was time to stock it with animals. So I created a new schedule called Animals, where they could have all the free time they want. Bamboozle. There are no tameable animals in this game yet, so I made Jeremy, Cameron, and Kaylee Gill animals, with Nash and Afton as zookeepers. Ironically enough, despite being the only original zookeeper, Cameron was thrown in the pen along with Kaylee. After doing this, I realized that Jeremy really had no brain cell. Cameron and Kaylee were able to walk out of the pens I built for them, even the pen that Jeremy couldn't escape from, so I rewarded their efforts by dropping them into the void of space. There's gravity here, don't question it. I went into cheater mode to give myself profit, and spawned some animals in the other pens. Then we needed some visitors for our petting zoo. Just before I allowed my visitors to pet Jeremy, he died from starvation. With only Nash and Afton as the surviving victims left, I used them to replace Jeremy's spot. The zoo was a smash hit, and I learned a lot of Zitcoin for our visitors, petting Nash the cook. Then Nash quit and became another visitor. Remember the kitchen? It had caught fire miraculously and started spreading around the station. William Afton, after returning from the mining trip, was greeted with the sight of our zoo filled with visitors. Joyous day. He was the last person to service our guests, but he died how he wanted to, disgusting and incompetent, almost about to poop on the floor again until he was taken down by a zombie. With no animals left and have made hundreds of imaginary money, it was time to close the zoo for humans and close the chapter in my life as a zookeeper in space. What have I learned? I have learned that life is precious, life should be cherished, and that when life gives you toilets, you should poop on the floor. The end. If you'd like to see more content similar to this, please subscribe, and then subscribe again with the bell icon. I rarely post videos, so you'll want to be notified when I do. With that said, have a joyous day.